Hey there. Welcome to the Raw Consciousness Podcast by Stephanie Ryu, where all my knowledge meets the knowledge of other conscious beings. I love all things personal development, consciousness, spiritual, love, sexuality, abundance, feminine, masculine, healing, and so much more. My personal hope for you is that you gain knowledge, awareness, tools to help you transform into your highest self so you too can live an amazing life experience. Welcome, and thank you so much for listening. All right. Hi, guys. Podcast episode number 31. Quick side note, I actually have recorded 31 like multiple times. I've been having some technical difficulties. So it's a little late, but anyways, it's perfect. I want to kind of just quickly just say happy Merry Christmas to all of you guys, and also Happy New Year if you're watching this after the New Year. I hope you guys had some really great holidays or are having some really good holidays. Here I am doing this during the holidays because, it's what I really like. And this episode wants to come in pretty dang strong. So hold on to your seat because we're going to go deep today. And it's going to kind of have a lot to do with the previous episodes leading up to today. And I honestly think that this episode hadn't been wanted to be recorded, which is why I was having technical difficulties. I literally recorded an entire episode and then went to edit and it was just not there. I think it just it needed a little bit of time, it needed a little bit of patience, it needed a little bit of fermentation, preparation, whatever, I'm not sure. But there's a lot that's going to be said today. And it may take me a little bit of time to gather my thoughts because there's so much that wants to come through. Now, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit to a few weeks ago, how I was struggling to show up. I was struggling going through my own deep inner work. And when I go into this mode, I really have to start studying things. I really have to start implementing things. I really have to just expand ultimately and then go inwards. And which is also why I actually have been taking a massive break from social media. I mean, I'm sure you guys have noticed. I mean, maybe not. But I haven't been posting. I haven't been on social media. I've really had to let go of the external world, external reality, really, to be able to fully come back to myself and fully come back to my thoughts and fully come back to my emotions and all these things. So really, let me kind of just share with you guys what I'm going to be doing and what I'm going to be what's coming up and what we're going to be talking about today. I actually had a title for this, but I think it's going to be we're awakening again. That's what's happening. Shit. So what does that even mean? We're going to talk about that, awakening again, to what, why, and what does that even look like or mean? Some of us probably already know a lot of this stuff. And I'm just here to remind you guys and also give you some new tools and new things to kind of do the work on. And some of you are going to be maybe listening to this stuff and going holy crap, Steph, how did you know? I'm not a fortune teller or whatever, future teller, whatever you want to call it, a psychic, maybe, I don't know. We're all a little bit psychic, but yeah, it's gonna be a trip. But before I share that, I'm gonna talk to you guys about something called Sunday Mornings with Steph, which is gonna be taking place in January. And I'm doing Sunday Mornings with Steph, not just for y'all, but for me. So just so you know, when I talk about it, you're gonna be okay, that's what it is. And I'm excited to kind of tell you a little bit more throughout as I go and how it's gonna be incorporated in all of this. So I think I had mentioned Sunday Mornings with Steph back in November or something like that, being a thing. And here I am doing it. Kind of fun. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about awakening again. We're going to talk about how there's a collective mass awakening that's going to be happening and how it's showing up on an individual basis and how I'm going to kind of connect the two. And the way weirdly excited about this because it's kind of like I've been through it. I can talk about it like really well, and so I want to be able to share as much as I can about it. So I'm going to bring us back right now. Hold on, is there more things? Yeah, I'm going to bring us back to 2019, tell you a little bit about that, then how it's going to be showing up for us in the now and how we can actually kind of get ready for it and how we can, whenever it does happen, the awakening, we're aware of it, and I'm going to kind of play this out for you guys. But back in 2019, y'all know, a lot of you know, there's some crazy shit that happened on a collective basis, right? Lots of energies, lots of awakenings, lots of people being like, what the hell, questioning their realities, all these things. So I did an episode, it was actually, I think my third episode I did was back on the COVID light side. I didn't necessarily go all that much into the darkness of it, which I might pretty much do a little bit today. But dark and light, it's yin to its yang. And before we go to the light, we got to go through the darkness, the perceived darkness, what it wants us to see, feel, experience, what it wants to really it wants us to become aware of, right? And that it becomes a choice. And so this is the awakening that's kind of happened. You gotta recognize, one, the darkness within yourself. And this is the hard part. We tend to see it external first and not realize that it's actually part of us. And now I have to sneeze. Excuse me. There it is. So 2019, let's go back. Let's go back to what happened. So 2019, before COVID really kind of hit, and I was doing all this inner work stuff, I remember for the first time becoming aware of the darkness, like on a let's call it a galactic level. Whatever, that sounds weird, but on a bigger mass level than just like this kind of like little planet. It was a very, very large kind of feeling of like, wow, there's a lot of darkness, and a lot of darkness is gonna show in violence. It's gonna show up in like the human trafficking aspect of it. It's gonna show up in fear. It's gonna show up in I remember just like being like it's a clear fine line between the two, and a lot of that fear shows up kind of like in situations, in potential experiences and things like that. It doesn't necessarily show up in the now. So I'm going to connect those two dots very, very soon. So when 2019 hit and I became aware of like the darkness, I was like, whoa, what? Like, what is that? And there's a lot of people who had predicted COVID, right? Like already knew that this shit was going to happen. But I hadn't even awakened to the darkness yet. So I hadn't even known. I didn't even know this could be a potential. So I just knew things were about to get wild. Like I had no idea, but what I had seen and felt was like, whoa, like even within myself, I was like, oof, like we're going to go through a crazy wave. A super crazy wave. And that's when I ended up going into grief. I grieved really hard. That's when my pup had died. And I went deep into some grief, deep into some fear, deep into some stuff. And the only way I was able to get out of it was by doing inner work, which I did, which I worked on. And then when COVID came and it hit like this, I was in such a high vibrational frequency that I could feel the heaviness. I could feel the fear. I could feel like all the manipulation. I could feel like it was a clear separation of energies for me that I could see. And I was like, this isn't real. This is manipulation. This is all the other things that I have been working on. And it's showing up. Like it literally took me 2 weeks to figure it out. At first I was like questioning it. I was like, nah, like, is this real? Is this a real thing? You know? And on a collective basis, if we're going to put a number to it, because, I did a little bit of studying, let's call it, 90% of the world is under, I always call it a spell, is fast asleep, doesn't have any awareness of the I, the who I am, the being of the I am. Not even like, it's like a separation. It's like, I don't know, if you know what I'm saying, you hear it and you know it. And so there's a lot of people who just have none of that awareness. And so when fear shows up, it's so external and becomes so real, they can't even self-reflect, if that makes sense. So when COVID hit, people went wild, right? People went angry, scared, like terrified. Like there was so much fear, and then it became like almost like violence. Like they utilized violence to keep you even under more fear. At least for us, like we had army people walking around like ready to shoot you if you weren't in your house. Like it was just next level ridiculous, and you could fall for it, and you could really go into the media and listen to it and hear it and just be completely, let's call it brainwashed, because it's and I'm going to connect this dot, mind manipulation. It's control over the mind, it's programming of the mind, programming of the ego through low vibrational emotions and frequencies, words, all the things, right? So when that shit hit, people got fucking terrified. But then as time went on, people started like questioning, like, what the hell? Like my entire livelihood depends on this shit. Like a lot of people couldn't even go to work, couldn't make money, couldn't do these things. So they started feeling like helpless. Like I got to do something, And so there's a lot of people who woke, whatever, like came out of like the dependency of the external world. And this is what an awakening is. It's realizing the outside of you, what you see, feel, and hear is just an illusion. It's just a projection of your inner world. So if you're in constant fear and constant thinking of fear, blah, 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 your mind is literally going to grasp at absolutely everything that happens outside of you. And I actually believe we're going to be going through some sort, and again, like I'm not here to spread fear. I'm not here to spread, like I'm going to flip this real quick, but I'm not here to say like we're going to go through some fucking crazy shit in 2024, but there's a massive possibility, because I'm like literally the inner work that I'm doing right now. I'm like working myself. It almost feels like a preparation for what the next awakening is going to happen. So just a heads up. It's like, that's what I've been realizing and feeling, and especially in a feeling in a community, like it's that's what we're feeling and experiencing at the moment. And we can get lost in the good, and I think that's amazing, but there's also a big purpose to this, As long as you're doing the inner work and you can recognize it in yourself, it's going to be all right. It's going to be good. And that's what I want to help ultimately prepare people for, is this. It's not prepare. It's just heal. It's just do this inner work, do this stuff so that you can be so present and know your truth, know what is real, like real, not a false illusion of a projection of a collective fear. Did you hear that? I heard it. Massive. So, yeah. So this basically what it feels like a very similar experience to 2019, but now we're in 2023, and it literally feels like it's the same fucking timeline, like the same cycle. Anyways, if anyone hears this and goes like, hell to the fucking yes, Steph, I get exactly what you're saying, let me know. I'm really curious to see. But all this aside, on a collective basis, because as we know, it's a projection, the collective projection will manifest in our reality, our external world. So if we're doing a lot of the internal world, our projection will not be distracted will not be will not feed into the fear, which is where I want to kind of flip it to the light side now. to the yang of it. So all right, what ways, I guess, ultimately will this be kind of showing up in our reality, and what can we work on at the moment? So wow, there's so much that wants to come through right now. It's like it could come out at like fire speed. So let me just remind you briefly of the like energy vibration. So I think I've alluded or mentioned or described this so many times, right? That everything kind of comes into the mind. And as we awaken this round, we're going to become aware of the mind. And it's really to become aware of the mind, you have to also then work at releasing the mind. Or, I'm not even going to say this word, but I was going to say this word. It's not controlling the mind, but it's you have the choice to choose all the thoughts that are happening in your mind. So you have to become aware of the mind first, of what you're thinking all the time, because that's what is being manifested externally. And also your mind is going to connect itself to creating an emotion, a frequency within your body. And that's also what you're putting out there into the universe. So the first really big step to all of this, how I can see it and always have seen it, is what are you thinking? How can you become so crucially aware of your mind and your thoughts? Because most of the time, these things kind of just, it just like, literally, like, I'll give you some examples. Like my mind wants me to be so much in my mind that when I listen to a song, it'll play it on repeat for like days on end sometimes. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it's like playing the song. And I'm like, dude, man, shut up. Shut up, you know? So our mind is literally going to be petrified of this experience because we're like literally letting go of the mind. Like it's massive. We're like, okay, mind, calm down. Like you're the one creating this craziness. And the more we see it, let's call it, the more it's being like kind of like projected in our reality, the more the mind will grasp at it, which is why I've actually let go of social media, because there were some things that were happening in my reality and I was like, they're not mine. It's because I'm watching it on social media. And this is a lot of the mind programming, which we're going to talk about. So as I talk about the mind and its awareness, there are so many different avenues that the mind wants to grasp at the external reality and like justify that this is real. It's a real experience that you're having. But in reality, it's just a projection. So now I'm going to talk about it more of like on an individual basis, and then I'm going to reconnect it on a collective basis, what that's going to kind of do and look like if or when we have another, let's call it external crisis, like an external COVID, an external situation that like is massive. Hopefully I remember to do that. But how it's going to show up for us right now and the importance of like doing this kind of work, it's like we're aware of the discomfort that we're experiencing. And the discomfort I've talked about, I don't feel like I need to go into too many details about that, but like, you know, discomfort of like anger, discomfort of frustration, discomfort of oh my goodness, what I forget all of them, but I've been going through like this like battle, this hardness, this heaviness, this fear that I've been experiencing, like just on like, let's call them small scales, but like enough for it to consume my mind. I've mentioned how I hold it in my nervous system, and my mind is like clinging on to that stuff, right? Like the mind is going to, I always say this, like if you're experiencing some level of discomfort, whether that's anxiety or fear or depression or wow, all the things, like you just feel like you're completely exhausted all the time or whatever, like the mind is creating the discomfort. Even if it's like, if you're obsessing over your health, like but like, you're healthy, but then it's like, there's like a little twitch in your back. I'm like, oh my God, what could it be? And your mind wants to grasp and create this other idea. Like it wants to, and it often happens at an experience that's like either been based on the past or in the future. It's never like what you're actually experiencing in the now. Your mind, your ego is like out there. It's never present. So until you become fully present in yourself, that you can actually control what the mind sees, says, what you hear in the mind, like that's the only time. So if your mind is running on thoughts that are endless, it's usually past and future. And this is going to be the thing that really on a collective level is we're going to struggle at. We're going to be so in the future worrying about what could and will and maybe is going to happen. And then we're going to go in the past and probably like, I have a feeling we're related to COVID and how intense that all was and play on that fear. I don't know how it's going to connect. I literally don't know, but I'm just like imagining it because that's like what I'm experiencing. And so, but the reality will be like, if you were to shut down the entire world around you, shut down social media, shut down the news, shut down like your external world, and you just came back to the present moment, you will have everything you need to create from that place joy, love, all the different feel-good emotions. Literally. Don't know what that means, but it means a lot. and I feel this because even when COVID hit, like I remember I went through the fear, went through all the worries and blah, blah, blah for about 2 weeks. Like I said, I remember it being about 2 weeks and then being like, what are you doing, Steph? Like, what? Come back to yourself. Like, just come back to yourself. Like, there's nothing you can control or do right now on your external front. You're locked in your house. Like, we were literally on such a strict quarantine. We couldn't leave and go anywhere. So it's like, well, you got your food. You've got your fun stuff. Like, you can write, you can play music, you do whatever it is that you want. Yeah, sure. Like, you got to use your imagination at this point to like kind of create like some fun things. But as soon as I dropped into that, like manifestations happen. That's when I like $20,000 came into my lap to be able to feed a ton of people. Like, there was just so much light that came through me because I was in the vibration to be able to receive the light information. Okay? So it's the same thing now though. Like, as we prepare, as we do this inner work, it's going to serve for a higher purpose. It's going to serve. So like if you're hearing this video and you're watching and I'm like, and you're like, okay, but like Steph, like what can I do now? And so it's like now's the time to become aware and to awaken to the mind and do the inner work to get out of the mind. Like that's how I can describe it to you. And then remember to become present. And this is gonna be the biggest awakening and the biggest fear, I guess, or the biggest like moment that people are going to struggle with, because the ego mind will literally, like I said, grasp at anything because it's going to feel like it's dying, because it's the death of the mind, if you want to call it. And so it's going to grasp at everything to distract you, like literally at everything to distract you. Like, I'm going to use it kind of like a little example, and this one popped into my consciousness, and I don't know if it's going to be true. I don't know, whatever, but I don't know. One of the things that they might play on with for fear on the external front is water. The illusion that we're going to run out of water. And we know as a human, we need water. We need water. And so if the mind in the future, if you were to say in like 3 months from now, not your reality now, because you got plenty of water, but in 3 months from now, you are going to run out of water, what would the mind start to do? Freak the fuck out. Freak the fuck out. It'd be like a life or death, fight or flight situation. And so if they play on things, like if the external world starts to play on projections of necessities for the human mind, like people are going to lose their shit. Literally, So it's kind of like that deep, deep fear. So you got to work at managing the mind and seeing what's actually the reality in front of you. Right? And so how am I gonna not wrap this up, but bring this into alignment with the now? So what I'm doing in the month of January, at least even for myself, is have been, but also really practicing it like on a deep level, is becoming fully present, having full on managing of the mind. And I've got some magical tools to be able to do that. And so this is where it's funny how it kind of does this full loop. This is where Sunday Mornings with Steph is going to be about. It's about the tools. It's about sharing the present moment and awareness and connection to the light every Sunday morning. And now, it's not enough like once a week. I mean, it'd be great to do it every day. It does become an inner practice. It does become a you practice, right? But Sunday morning is going to be about releasing a lot of the week's energy and recognizing how it's showing up. And then how do we come back to the present with the tools that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. So Sunday Mornings with Steph it's so much more than just spending some time with me. It's me calling your higher self at this moment to remind you that you're going to want to be present through all of this, whatever it is, like this life, this experience that we're going to go through. And so I'm planting seeds right now to remind you to be present in January. And I know that after the holidays, after everything that kind of goes on, we get completely consumed by our external reality. And not in a good or in a bad way. Like there's no good or bad. Like some people might absolutely love the holidays. They have time off. They have time for themselves. They spend it with their family. They love it. But then they start dreading going back to work and dreading all that craziness. And then on the opposite side of things, there's people who don't enjoy the holidays, who don't enjoy their family or their gatherings, or they spend it alone or whatever. Like there's kind of both sides of it. But we get lost in the external reality and the discomfort of the external reality and what might be coming up. And so these Sunday morning checkpoints are a reminder to you to dive into yourself in those moments, knowing that future you is like, come on, like we're doing this. we're not. How can I say that? There will become a point that the separation of awareness is going to become so distant, so far away, and so much more, let's call it difficult, is how I can feel it. Because as I delve deeper into my unconscious, like, fuck it doesn't get easier to come back to it. That's all I'm going to say. Like each awareness, each awakening, each level of awareness that I have tapped into, I've had to go deeper into the unconscious, deeper into, let's call it, the hardness, the heaviness of the awakening to be able to like spring forward. And so if you're kind of like deep in the discomfort, like do yourself a favor for future you. to like know you're planting seeds, and to know it's kind of like an alarm clock, like, hey, wake up. And this is why I'm also doing it for myself, like maintaining myself in a consistent state of awareness to serve, to awaken not just myself, but others, because I feel there's such a massive purpose in all of it. Like, as you guys know, this is what I'm here for. It's what I love, you know. At the end of the day, it always brings me back to myself. And so, yeah. So that's what Sunday mornings with Steph is about. That's what I haven't even really said it to too many people, because I feel like it's going to reach the right people who hear this message and go like, hell yeah, like hell yeah, like this is what this, I get it. I hear everything you're saying, Steph, and it makes the most amount of sense. And I'm showing up, and I'm gonna tell you guys, like, it's gonna be crazy, stupid, accessible. Like, I'm not doing this to like break your bank account. Like, it's $25. And the reason I'm doing it for 25, and it's also $25 a Sunday. So say like 4 Sundays, $100 a month. And you can invite your friend. And you can, if you message me and be like, Steph, can I invite 2 friends? I'll be like, yeah, you can invite 2 friends. Like, it's not about that. The reason I'm doing a little bit of a price point, it's not, I know $25 people can kind of like forget about it, but as soon as we put $25 or put any kind of money towards it, we tend to be more, the energy tends to attach itself better. It tends to show more commitment. It tends to, if you like put $25 or $100 down, you're gonna be like, I'm more likely to do this than if I were to put no money. Like, you'd probably just forget. Like, at least that's what it's like for me. Like, if I don't pay something oftentimes and there's something I've planned in the future, like, I'm kind of like, me, I will, you know? So I want that little bit of level of commitment. And I know that if you pay the $25 and you can invite a friend or 2, I would even say, like, encourage them to pay, because then it'll show them commitment too. But it's mostly like to build that community so that you guys can also have language that you can relate to, that you have a community of people that you know is doing this kind of work. And so if you have been working with me, or have worked with me, or have been listening to what I say, and you're like, oh shit, like this is it. And then you kind of have passed that awareness to certain friends or certain people, and they're in the know, like, this is the perfect opportunity to come and gather. Like, it's going to be extremely powerful. And I'm going to kind of talk to you now a little bit about how it's going to show up in our minds to remove us out of the present moment, and what we're going to kind of do over the Sundays to be able to come back to the present moment. Now, the present moment, like, we always like, yeah, like, you just be present, like, calm the mind, like, do the things we know, right? But it goes beyond that now. Like, it goes so deep in our freaking body, like in our being. And it has been so, our minds have been so programmed that there were strategies to program it. There has to be strategies to unprogram it. Does that make sense? So I mentioned this, in the mind, you're going to experience discomfort. A lot of the times, if you're in your mind, you're experiencing discomfort. So that's like the first thing we're going to start recognizing, is like how the discomfort is showing up, because we have to become aware of the discomfort. Like, we have to. That's just how it works. Without discomfort, I mean, without anger or fear or anxiety, we don't really know what we're saying to ourselves. So how we're in the mind. We're also going to talk about the present in the concept of removing the past and removing the future. Like I've alluded to that a little bit. Anytime we are speaking of past experiences or future experiences, we associate time to it. Now, in the now, there is no time. And when we remove the illusion of time, like, there's so much that happens. There's so much magic that happens. And I think it's going to be really crucial to do with this next awakening. Just saying. Just saying. We also store, and I've mentioned this a lot, we also store a lot of experiences in our nervous system. And so sometimes it could be a word, it could be it could be a small example. Like, I'd have to give you guys some things, but like, we store this stuff in our nervous system. And so, for example, if you've had an accident or you've had a small traumatic experience in your life, it doesn't even have to be nothing major, but I like this experience is like, if you had a parent, one of them was always angry, and one of them was always like, the calm one or whatever. Like, if you hear someone speak to you the way that your angry parent spoke to you, even in the now, your body will tense up. Your body your nervous system carries it within your body, and your mind will just be like, look, it's the same thing. It's the same experience. So how do we manage the nervous system? So we're going to do a lot of that. And then it's a lot of releasing and letting go of the mind. So those are the things we're going to be working on Sunday morning. It's going to be super powerful, like really, really powerful. Like, I don't even know to the extent, because a lot of the times when I create these things, I don't even know, like, I definitely don't know what's going to happen in the future in that sense, but I have a feeling, and based on the experiences that I've been having, I just know that these things are going to be extremely powerful. They're really powerful for me. And so I want them to be just as powerful for you, and probably and potentially exactly what it is, let's call it, that you need now in preparation for the collective awakening. Because you're going to be awakening yourself to also something. And then it becomes this beautiful choice of like, I've done all this work, and then you can recognize it when it shows up externally in your reality, and you can go like, that was my nervous system being triggered. That was, I don't know, a past experience that, like, whatever, or I could be worrying about the future right now. Like, but no, like, I've worked on this. I've prepared myself for this massive awakening. And chances are you're going to awaken to a whole other side of yourself throughout that moment, throughout that month of January. That's how I'm going to describe it. Okay. So yeah, Sunday mornings with Steph. I'm really excited to be sharing this with you guys. I'm really, this Sunday mornings with Steph is really, if you're listening to this, I guarantee this is always so funny for me to say, but like, I guarantee your higher self, your soul, whatever you want to call it, your guidance, your whatever it is, led you to listen to this. Like, it was at the right time, the right place. You're meant to listen to this, and you're also, I always go like, it's your, at this point, you can do whatever you want, but I believe it's our duty, it's mine, but to awaken each other, and also, but awaken to the light, like awaken to the life that we're living, that can be actually like heaven on earth, which is what we want to experience, at least for me, like, where you can truly create and manifest and experience life in the way you want to. And so, like, it's your duty, like if you have friends or people you know, like, do them the benefit of either listening to this or inviting them to the Sunday mornings. Like, I think you can just invite them and be like, hey, like, this is your chance. Like, if people are literally like dipping their toes in either awareness or spirituality, or even just like if they're getting curious or they're questioning a little bit of their reality, or whatever it is that you can kind of pinpoint within these people, invite them, literally invite them. I think it's such a powerful place. And again, someone who has had awakenings, but are kind of feeling lost again. Like they're just like, I know there's something more, but just like, what's my next? Like this could be it. Like this could be the thing that helps them awaken even more. Like this work is going to be really beautiful and really powerful. So I encourage you, if you've listened to this message, share it with 1 or 2 friends and see if they join on Sunday mornings. Or just ask for their email and be like, hey, you got to come to these Sunday mornings with this girl because she's doing some crazy shit. And so that's about it. That's what I've got for today. Thank you guys for listening. Again, this is going to be developing into the new year, and let's see what happens. I'm really excited, and I'm really, really, really grateful for this inner work because it's about to really become a crucial experience for a lot of people who are awakening. So thank you guys for listening again, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. You can also follow me on Instagram, or you can follow me on Facebook. You can get into the mailing list for Sunday Mornings with Steph. I'll leave all the information below, but there's going to be a lot coming through for the next week until we officially start Sunday Mornings with Steph, which is, I think, the first Sunday that we're going to do it is on January 7th. Yeah, I think so. Anyways, all right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
Hey there. Welcome to the Raw Consciousness Podcast by Stephanie Ryu, where all my knowledge meets the knowledge of other conscious beings. I love all things personal development, consciousness, spiritual, love, sexuality, abundance, feminine, masculine, healing, and so much more. My personal hope for you is that you gain knowledge, awareness, tools to help you transform into your highest self so you too can live an amazing life experience. Welcome, and thank you so much for listening.